Well, hello everybody, and as promised, we are back at G Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert, and I'm pointing at my watt meter right now, the kilowatt meter, and I've got it set for watts already, and it's plugged in. You can see 00 on the screen right now. That's because nothing's running. So I'm going to be firing off the Harbor Freight well pump here in a minute. Let me show you that. That's down here. There it is right there. And I've got my water thing here so I can turn some water on and get it flowing down into there. And then when the pressure drops to the specified amount, the pump will automatically turn on by itself. That will show us the surge that's needed to start the pump, and then once the pump is started, it'll run for a few minutes. It's very quick. It really does build up pressure very quickly in that little 3-gallon tank down there. But yeah, they call it a 5-gallon tank. I don't know why. It's got a bladder inside. It can't hold much more than 3 gallons, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. So anyway, it does go fast, so you'll have to keep your eye on that gauge. Now, what we're looking for are two numbers. First number is the surge number, or the startup capacitance. Now, this pump does come with a built-in hard start capacitor and a run capacitor. It's already built into it. And while I was down there, I should have showed you that. Let's see if I can. It's that black box right on top of the motor. Okay, the other box down there is the pressure switch. That turns the pump on and off, determined by the pressure that's in the tank. All right. So, anybody has any problems with their Harbor Freight shallow well pump, you can check some of my older videos. I've done a few reviews and reports on them. Everything that could happen to it has happened to me, and most of it I had to figure out myself because, as a lot of people have found out, Harbor Freight tech support is confused about these things. They tell you to put the backflow valve or the check valve on the incoming line, and actually it does come on the incoming line. They tell you to put it on the outgoing line, which won't work. What it's supposed to do is stop pressure from flowing back to the source where you're getting your water from. So water can flow to the pump, but not back to the source. That's if you remember that little phrase right there, that'll tell you how you put your check valve in. All right. Now also, on a check valve, make sure you don't put it outside if you're in a freeze zone, because it will freeze in the winter, and it'll cause you big major problems if it doesn't pop and drain your water source. It'll definitely damage the check valve, and then your pump will cycle on and off and won't stop until it burns the motor out. So put it inside. That's where mine is. It's inside of the garage here, and it's safe. All right. So let me see if I can reach over without blocking anything, and I'll turn this water on, and I think I'll put it on slowly so that we can get a chance to watch it. You'll probably hear the water come on here in a second. There we go. Now keep your eye on that gauge. Keep your eye on the gauge. I probably could have turned it on faster than that. Okay. So, those were our surges. It's going to come on again so we can get a double look at it. I need to fill that unit up with water anyway. That's for watering some of my potted plants and my trees. So let's let it run a little while longer and turn back on again. Silence is golden. See, I was at half pressure in the tank, probably from water I used in the cabin to do my breakfast dishes before I came out here. That's why it came on so quickly last time. Anytime now. Let's see if I can get around here and see where the pressure's at. I'm going to turn it on a little faster. Maybe a little faster. $87.2, 109 to 204 on the surge. All right, let me shut that off so I don't waste water. And we've got that one taken care of. Now we're going to head outside over to the battery room so I can show you what's going on over there to answer the second question I had. Yeah, when I was asked how much power the Harbor Freight pump drew, I didn't know because I actually never did put the gauge on it and check it. All I know is that my solar system handled it, and that was the only thing that was important to me, so I actually never read the numbers that it takes. But now we know, right? And we've got them on video 2 times, so we know exactly what to expect for those of you who are starting out. All right, so the other question was, how do you hook a backup generator to your solar inverter? All right, now my answer to the person that asked it was, I can show you the general basics, but other than that, you have to check your inverter manufacturer for specifics on it. So on mine, I do not have an electric start. Oop, fingers in the way. I've got the phone upside down. So I do not have an electric start generator. I have to pull start this one. And I did want an electric start, but at the time I actually bought this one was the time when all of the illegal pot growers were out here in the desert, and they had bought up all the generators that you could find in all the different stores. So I had to go with a hand start one. But a lot of the inverters will have automatic starting sequences on them, so that if your power drops below a certain amount, it'll automatically start your generator and run it until it brings the batteries back up to par, and then it shuts the generator off for you. It does it all automatically. So for those of you who do that, you'll have to check with your manufacturer of yours. Now I'm using this Predator 6500, And that's, again, like I said before, 6,500 max starting watts. Forget that. It's a 5,500 watt inverter. Now that's 5.5K. That's fine for what I need here. You may need a larger generator. Another thing was, when you hook your generator up to your inverters, make sure that your generator produces clean electricity and not modified electricity. Because if it does, and you put modified electricity into a pure sine inverter, you're going to cause damages. So those are some of the things you have to know. All right, so the way I hooked mine up, you see the plug laying down there on the heavy-duty SO cord. All right, that's this. Okay, so I got it wired properly on the inside where the wires go. Very simply, it'll tell you where the black wire goes, where the red wire goes, or line 1, line 2, and it'll show you where neutral goes, and it'll show you where ground goes inside of the plug. Okay, I'm used to the camera being down this corner. I've been holding this out of frame. So anyway, I got it hooked up properly, and this is where it plugs in at 240 volts. Now that's because I'm using a 240 volt or a split phase inverter. Now, if you've got just a 120 volt inverter, you don't need that. You would plug it into one of these outlets over here instead. Let's see if I can get you in frame here. Where are we? There we go. So you would plug into one of these instead, because it's only 120 volts. Wow, dust devil coming through. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't breathe. Wow, went right over me. Whew. Weird weather. Oh, that tastes awful. Woo-wee. Too bad I didn't turn around and catch it coming at me. For those of you who don't know, a dust devil is a miniature tornado, and they happen when there's unstable weather out here in the desert. I've got dust all over my screen. I hope it's not on the lens too. Let me see. Anyway, yeah, it's unstable weather that causes that stuff, just like a tornado. So whoever left the stable door open, close it, because you're causing the weather to be unstable. All right, so I'm using the Ames power, and this is the 12 volt DC unit, because that's what my system is. And this is a pure sine split phase unit. That's let's see, where are those letters? Well, anyway, take my word for it. It's a low frequency series, split phase, 240 volt. Okay, so on that end is the DC connections. This is the AC connections, and there we go. Okay, so these are the AC connections. Now this is white is neutral, red is line 2, black is line 1. So it's line 1, line 2, neutral. Now coming from the generator, those are the three that go, that's the AC output. Those are the ones that go to, let me zoom back out here. That works better, huh? Okay, so those are the three that go into my electrical panel, my circuit panel. Down here is the AC input. That's coming from the generator. There's that big heavy SO cord I just showed you outside. Okay, so those go ground, line 1, line 2. All right, and it usually says right on the unit what connects to where. So in order for me to get generator input into mine, what I have to do is I always leave it unplugged. You don't ever start and shut off your generator while it's under load. So I leave it unplugged, and I'll start the generator. Then I come around and I plug that big SO cord into the 240 volt outlet. That automatically signals the Ames inverter that I am now on AC input, or what we call shore power. And this will change, the light will change over, and it'll go to shore power. Okay, it does that automatically, and what it does is it'll start charging my batteries. This thing becomes a giant battery charger instead of an inverter. The light green light right now is on inverter mode. Now, if you have an automatic start generator that has a, let's say, it's got a battery and it's got a electric starter on it. So all you have to do is flip the on button and press the start button until it starts. Okay, on this side, on the DC side, there's this little connector down here. Okay, and it connects two little wires to it. And all that actually is an electronic switch that's connected to the electronics inside the unit. And what that will do is, when the system recognizes that the batteries are low, it'll automatically make a connection in there, like turning the switch on, and that'll crank the starter on your generator and start it up. Okay? Once it's started, it'll run until your batteries reach a certain voltage. The system recognizes that and shuts it off automatically. So you don't have to go out in the rain, wind, and cold to fire up your generator. Now, I very seldom use the generator, so it's not that big of a deal for me. And that's another thing that I'll try to cover before I close this video off. All right, now for that connection, you're actually going to have to check with whoever your, I would go with Ames Power, and they would tell me what dip switches to change. You might have to change this little switch here to a different number. Then there's dip switches down on this side here that you might have to change. So that's different with every inverter, so I can't tell you how to do that on your inverter. All right, so this is the diagram I was showing you for the auto generator start. It says right there. So that's that right there. Okay, and then this would be for a battery temperature sensor. You can plug a battery temperature sensor in, so if your battery gets too hot or too cold, it'll tell the inverter that, and the computer in the inverter will do what it can to protect your batteries. All right, so that's basically the whole setup. In a nutshell, very, very simple. Let's see, what was I going to say over here? I forgot to put on my memory foam insoles. Okay, so remember, one other thing is unplug your extension cord before you shut the generator down. That's an important thing. Oh, that's what I was going to do. Was for long-term storage or non-use of your generator, either get out every couple of weeks and fire it up and let it run for 10 minutes or so, or you have to put a stabilizer, a fuel stabilizer, in the fuel. Now, I put that in anyway because all of today's fuel has been tampered with by the powers to be, so that you can't do long-term storage with it. So they won't let you store it in a tank on your property where when the prices are low, so that you don't have to pay high prices when they go up. Smart little bastards, aren't they? They reformulated the gasoline, and they put alcohol basically in it, or white lightning, if you will, and it's mixed in with the gasoline. And that stuff corrodes hoses and plastics and that stuff. So on the older cars, it would eat up the gas lines and that stuff because they weren't made to handle that alcohol. And nowadays they have flex fuel vehicles that, and all of the newer vehicles all have special internal carburetor parts and fuel pump parts and that kind of stuff. And the fuel hoses are all remanufactured so that they can withstand the corrosive powers of the alcohol in your gasoline. So I wish these idiots would quit playing with our stuff. You know, they're not doing it for our good. They're doing it for their good, so they have control. And I'm sure a lot of you know that and agree with me. Anyway, thanks for joining me. This is G Bear signing off.